hope visitors look at this object and say, first and foremost, what is that? Because I think it's very surprising to walk in and to see a gourd that has a ballerina on the front. And to know that this is, I think most of the visitors are going to come in knowing this is about African art. It's in the title. And then to walk in and the first thing you see is a ballerina and a tutu on this carved piece. And I really want them just to open the minds, to ask more questions. What is that? Why is it made? And then hopefully that will lead them then to read our labels that will explain those things, and to pick out the handouts that really explore the objects from multiple perspectives. And this gourd features a really wonderful label that was written by Alana Joy Okonkwo, emerging scholar at Stanford, who really imagines what the gourd might say if it was speaking to us in these galleries, to think about its role in a collection and who made it and when. And I think that these additional tours are a great way to think that, to really emphasize, a label can't tell you everything.
Right.
We have 1,000 questions about the label that's already on it. So if we add a museum label on top of it, it's never always going to answer a question.
Yeah, and I think, reading the label that we wrote for this, that it's about the artist, it's about this specific moment when it was made, and it's getting into that sort of, it's what you expect from a museum, right? It's the history, it's the object's use a little bit, it's sort of, it's a little bit of that anticipated museum voice. And then layering that with the additional labels that we provided. And the additional labels are coming from different perspectives, coming from different disciplines, with the stated intention that we want the visitor to come and look at art objects in this museum and be reminded that every time you read a label on a gallery that's written by someone who's coming from a particular viewpoint and they're only telling you one story. Every exhibition has, that thesis, has that through line, and all of the labels are tailored to that. And if we had selected a different through line, we would have written the labels in a totally different way. And so that reminder with this additional set of labels from different disciplines, that you're never getting the whole story. You're only getting one very particular story, is so important for the viewer, because the museum always feels like a monolith. It always feels, you get that museum voice, and there is that sense of power in the museum voice, that it is speaking with authority and authenticity. And we wanted viewers to really be reminded that there are all kinds of authentic, authoritative voices out there, and that all you have to do is imagine them.
Ask more questions.
Ask more questions. And I love in Alana's label for this one, I think it's actually a through line for her in all of the labels that she produced for the pieces, is some of the angst of living in diaspora, because it is thinking about how objects, once they leave that original context, they are members of a diaspora. And that is a shared experience with so many people. And that maybe they are also sensing that loss of home, changing identity. What does that mean for them? There's an artist who we've worked with in the past named Zina Sarawiwa, and she did this wonderful piece, and it's a video piece. And in part of it, she asks the question of objects. We think about so many objects from the African continent as having power, having agency in their original context. Why do we not assume that these objects aren't making decisions along the way, that they aren't exactly where they want to be? And maybe these pieces want to be here. Maybe for the pieces that we return, that we restitute to community, coming here, they want to be there now. It's sort of this idea of objects of having more sentience than we really typically think of them in the museum sphere as having. And I love that Alana's label, giving voice to the object, also taps into those ideas. Because I think it makes everything more approachable and more comprehensible in that way. So
yeah. I think, most people have had experience where they leave home, and that is something that we can connect to as humans, and the thought that none of these objects are where they were originally made.